Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to our new chapter of Spydercast. We're here today with Daniel, Cam, and Juanita, and they will tell us about the new documentation. And at the end, we will have like a little tour about how this project came along. So first we have Daniel. He's our one of our core developers of Spyder. So say hi, Daniel.
Hi everyone.
We also have Cam, that's one of our volunteers, and he also took part of this project very effectively. So, hi Cam,
How's it going?
and we also have Juanita, that's also a core developer of the Spider team, and she was the lead in this whole project of the documentation. So, I'm Stephanie, and I'm going to host in here. So, let's start. So, well, the first question that we have is how did the documentation project come about and how it developed?
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, hi again. I'm Juanita. Just in case that you don't know, I was the lead in this whole project, and it started about 8 months ago. I remember Carlos, our lead maintainer, he asked me if I wanted to start this project of kind of improving the docs for Spyder. And I didn't actually know how to do any of this. And I guess I just kind of took the risk. I said yes. I started my process with a lot of research because I didn't know anything about documentation. And I remember how I kind of came up with a bunch of ideas that I wrote in my iPad. I'm gonna share my screen just to show you a cute drawing that I was doing. Um, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so it all started with me doing this drawing, kind of doing some planning for all the structure of what I imagined to be the dogs. I basically kind of had the idea of make them a lot visual. I wanted to include videos and do a lot of different things that were useful for people to kind of read the documentation that we have. And I remember in my first meeting with Carlos, after a week that he told me to start doing this, I present him this drawing where I kind of had some structure for the documentation. I know it's all messed up, but that's basically how it started, with a drawing and a meeting
But
of
I love
us
it.
kind of, yeah, it's I love to remember. And I basically love to see this drawing, really awful, messy drawing, and see what our dogs look like today. And it's really nice to see the dream came true. So okay, this was my basic planning. Here is where I kind of came up with the ideas of how to present the videos that we were gonna do, the tutorials. And then after our first meeting, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen if I figure out how. So after our first meeting, Carlos and I decided to invite Cam to the project because he was basically the one who had worked on the documentation of Spyder before. So we had meetings with Cam, and after kind of some planning meetings, we started working. So I'm just gonna let Cam and Daniel to kind of talk a little bit more about what they did in this project. But that's basically how it all started, with my cute iPad drawing.
That's really cool. So, Cam, you were called by Juanita and Carlos, and why were you interested in this project?
Well, I mean, as Juanita also says, I've always been really interested in documentation, and not just making an awesome software like Spyder, but actually making it user friendly and able for anyone from experienced developers to brand new beginners to be able to pick up and use and start creating great code and awesome science. So I had, as Juanita said, I had worked on documentation before, and I had some experience in that, but I was definitely not an expert. Definitely didn't have all the great ideas she did, but I was really happy to join the project to help contribute on reviewing and giving feedback, and also helping out along the way, and all sorts of different things. So and of course I had worked with Carlos and Juanita before by that point, and had a really good working relationship with them. So I really wanted to continue that and to contribute to Spyder and to the global community that has helped me so much in my research, and also helped me in my programming as well, help give back and help others get started just like I did with Spyder.
That's really nice. So yeah, thank you for being a volunteer in this project. Like, for all the people out there seeing us, like, remember that for contributing to an open source project, you don't necessarily have to code, but you can also help with these documentation things that they are really a ton of work, as we're going to see. And this is like very valuable work. So Daniel, how did you join the project?
Yeah, well, I previously helped with the Spyder site, kind of like this team, and also a little bit with the Spyder dogs. I think I don't really recall that, but yeah, basically I have some experience with kind of this the underlying technologies that we are using to kind of build this documentation from a technical part, you could say, like Sphinx and stuff like that. So yeah, basically I tried to help into achieve this new documentation. That's it, basically. Mm-hmm.
That's really nice. So thank you, Daniel. I know you were the wizard who make everything, like all Juanita's dreams and Cam dream, come true. So
With Cam,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
with Cam, with a lot of help of Cam, yeah. Mm-hmm.
A little bit of help from Cam, but mostly Danielle.
Everyone was involved. That's what matters. So, and the results are amazing. So what has been the role of each one in the project? So let's start by Juanita.
I guess my main role has been leading this whole thing. I was the initial kind of person who came up with most of the ideas that we ended up implementing. And I did all the planning, and I was the one that was basically writing all the content, and also doing the videos. I'm not sure if you have seen them, but if you don't, if you haven't seen them, go look them. There's a bunch of tutorials in our YouTube channel that I have been writing and recording and all of that. Of course, I've had a lot of help from Cam, Danielle, and Carlos, who's not here, but he's in the chat answering questions from all of you. And I've learned a lot from all of them. So I guess it's been a teamwork, and I'm very grateful to have learned a lot from all of you guys.
Okay, that's really amazing. And thanks, Carlos. I forgot to mention you at the beginning of this video. So for everyone who has any questions, Carlos, our lead maintainer, he is answering all the questions in the chat. Okay, so Daniel, what did you do more on the technical stuff?
So basically, I kind of did some changes to create kind of an Sphinx theme for the documentation. It was based on the PyData theme that Pandas was working. And also I did some setup of extensions for the doc site. Particularly, we were using Sphinx panels. That is kind of this extension that allows us to use a lot of Bootstrap stuff, and also Sphinx multiversion. That is the way we are now handling the rendering of different versions of our documentation. So we have already the 3x version of our documentation that was the first one like we had with the help of Cam. And now this new version of the documentation that is for Spyder 4. And yeah, basically that was like my part on this project.
Okay, so like if I go to the site, I can go also to the old documentation and to the new one. Like I have both of them available.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really nice.
Yep.
Okay, so Cam, tell us about what was your role?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned a little bit already, but basically I just did a lot of reviewing and providing feedback and kind of working collaboratively with Carlos and Juanita and Danielle on a number of different parts of the project, which is really cool to kind of be involved in a little bit in a lot of different aspects. And pretty much nothing I did that was like any of them couldn't have done or like, you know, couldn't have done my own, but it was a way better end product that we all collaborated together and worked together to build something I thought was pretty cool. So I did a lot of reviewing and especially a lot of the writing stuff because I have some copy editing experience on technical writing. And I also, as Danielle said, I did help him a little bit on the kind of as a kind of a team effort to get it out quickly for all you guys to see to release it. I did help a little bit on some of the build system stuff and some of the build scripting so that the redirects work. So then you get redirected to the current version of the docs whenever you put in a URL. So all the docs URLs don't break whenever we change the version. So it's easy for you guys to find. So I just did a few things like that, providing feedback. But it was definitely Juanita and the others who did most of the core work. But I was really grateful to get to help on so many different cool aspects of the project.
I also want to say that Cam was the one who kind of taught me a lot of things that I ended up doing. I mean, he was the one who taught me how to like edit things, and in the Resolve that I ended up doing for the videos, he was the one that kind of helped me with the pull request, and he was the one who put me on track for like starting actually writing the content for things. So thank you for that, Cam, too.
Well, thank you. And Juanita's the one who put me on track for doing all of this, because if it hadn't been for her recruiting me to this project, I wouldn't have even been part of it. So I really appreciate having the opportunity as well. That's all thanks to her.
I found that it's amazing that like among like the team you're learning things and like everyone's doing a bit of thing, you know, like there's no one that was only writing or only doing technical stuff, but you all were like mixing up the work together. So I think it will be like this project, like you'll learn a lot from it. So that's really nice. So
Absolutely.
one question that we received a lot from our from our new users is like, what's the difference between like the old documentation and the new Spyder 4 documentation? So yeah, can you put us a little bit in context, Juanita?
Yeah, of course. So the first thing that we did was fixing the initial page, because I really didn't like it. So I kind of did a whole new thing with it. We're gonna show the docs how they look like in the tour, so you'll have the chance to see exactly what I'm talking about. But what I basically did was kind of restructure it in sections that allowed people to know where to go exactly in the docs, depending on what they were looking for. If they were looking for answers for quick questions, you point them to the frequently asked questions section. Or if they were looking for like more complex solutions for some other problems, you point them to a troubleshooting guide. So our initial page I wanted it to have the function of kind of being a map so that people would know exactly where to go to in our docs page. So that was the first thing, and I'm really happy with the results. I also had like a lot of help from Daniel. This panels thing that he was talking about, it's what makes it so pretty. So thanks, Daniel, for working on that, because I think that was a lot of his help. The other thing that I wanted the docs to have was more visual aids that could help people kind of find things easily, because sometimes it's not the same when you kind of tell people in a paragraph to do something and when you show them how to do it in a GIF or in a screenshot, which I ended up adding a lot. it was a really hard process because doing GIFs, it's not as easy as it seems. But I ended up kind of learning a lot. So, and the other thing, which according to our latest poll in our social media, it's been like what people have liked the most is our tutorial videos. So we added a complete new section on the documentation for our tutorials. And these are basically videos that guide you step by step through everything you can do with Spyder, starting from downloading it and kind of going towards more advanced functionality like the code analysis of the profiler. We will continue doing these videos. There's only 6 of them right now, but there will be more, and we will keep kind of writing and producing content to help like users learn to use Spyder. And the other thing that it's completely new, it's our frequently asked questions section, which has, what we did was basically kind of come up with some questions that users ask a lot in Stack Overflow or in Gitter or in our like help channels, so that we can kind of have them all in only one place and people can refer to them whenever they need a quick answer. And our troubleshooting guide, which already existed in our repository, it was made by Cam. But what I did was basically kind of add more visual content, divided in different chapters so that people can read it like easily, and maybe do some kind of design aggregations to make it like easier to read. But that was all Cam's work. I only kind of made it prettier and added to the documentation because it was not in the documentation before. But the other thing that we did, but I want Danielle to tell us about it, is we completely changed the theme that we were using. And as that was Danielle's job, I want him to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah. We basically kind of like created another team for our Sphinx doc site, which is based on the PyData team that is done by Pandas, some Pandas folks, and it's used by Pandas. And basically, we used that base and added some elements like support for Gitter chat, open collective, and some styles, basically like the responsive layout of the page and the way you can change from topics when you are in a small screen and stuff like that, basically. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really cool. So like going back to the videos, like I just want to mention that they're pretty popular now. Like we already have one video that has like more than 1,000 views, and the others are like 500 views. So like if you haven't checked them out, like please go to the documentation site or to our YouTube channel. You will also find them there. And some of them are really useful even for people that don't necessarily are using Spyder every day. So yeah. So Cam, what do you think about the new Spyder for documentation things? What's new?
So there wasn't a ton that I did that was original, that wasn't a collaboration with basically everything I did was a collaboration with everybody else. And I want to note that I actually I had a few friends and family actually take a look at the site, especially the overview page that Juanita talked about. And even they had no experience with Python or programming or anything, and even they were like, "Wow, this is really easy to use, and I know right where to go." And they really loved how also what Danielle did with adding the Sphinx panels and being able to easily navigate the site. So. I mean, that's a pretty good sign if even people who don't even know about programming can kind of understand it. So. And so, but anyway, and also, I mean, the troubleshooting guide was like just, yeah, I had a lot of text, but Juanita, what she did just made it, and plus the Sphinx panels from Danielle was night and day. So I really got to emphasize how big a difference that made. I mean, some of the things I helped work on along with Danielle, was the version selector. It allows you to actually say, I want Spyder 3 docs, Spyder 4 docs, or the forthcoming Spyder 5 docs, and be able to easily select from each one, and also have the docs automatically redirect to the site that that's whatever the current version is. So then people don't have to, keep updating their URLs every year when we release a new version. So they can have one link and it goes right to it. And some kind of build system orchestration like that. But I think the coolest thing that we did together was our quick start page that has an interactive tour of the whole Spyder interface. So it actually, and of course, Juanita will demo it very soon, which I'm really excited for everybody to get to see that. But basically, you can click through it, and it shows a representation of the whole Spyder interface and says, here's the menu bar, here's the different panes, and actually it moves around the background image to actually show the correct panes, almost as if you clicked them in the real Spyder interface. So it's kind of like a virtual tour of Spyder, which is a pretty cool thing, and I can't wait for everybody to check that out.
I can it's hard to believe to have like a tour that almost feels like Spyder like without having to open Spyder. So yeah, I think that's like what's more like one of the interesting parts of the documentation along with the videos. Yeah, and I also think that this is what differences our documentation of Spyder from others, because like it is like this is a really hard job, and not all the projects have like the ability to work this hard as you guys to like create this bunch of tools for all the users. So it is really nice. So another question we want to know is, what was the most difficult part of the project for each of one? So let's start by with Cam.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it was just trying to find the best balance between language that was technically accurate and got into all the details, but also was friendly to newer users. And of course, we all had kind of different ideas and different kind of perspectives on how best to do that, because we both came, we all came from different backgrounds and had different perspectives on programming and on scientific analysis and that sort of thing. So it was definitely, especially since it was a lot of it was just me and Juanita working on stuff. There's a lot of back and forth trying to find the right balance there, and we both learned a lot from each other, and as well as from Danielle and from Carlos on kind of finding that. But I think that was definitely the one of the biggest challenges, particularly for me, was kind of trying to strike that, because there's no like one perfect objective way that's best for everyone, and so it's trying to find a happy medium there was definitely something that was definitely could be a struggle sometimes, but also something that I think we all learned, particularly me, learned a lot from. So I really appreciate that aspect as well, even though it was sometimes hard.
Yeah, as well as like maintaining the tone throughout the whole page. I think that's also like a difficult task, to not change like how you're saying things in one part of the documentation versus the other. And I think you guys like managed that pretty easily. So yeah, that is really nice. So Daniel, what was the most difficult part from your side?
Mm, from my side, I will say like the implementation of this multi-version support, in the sense of mostly like the work to make the extension actually work, right? And also all the work that Cam was mentioning, like these redirects to handle that, to implement that with the scripts he made, and all the build process, or I mean like the setup of the build process of the new docs, like to have previews in the pull request, and the actual deployment of the documentation with this multi-version thing. And besides that technical stuff, I will say that sometimes like the alignment to in the sense of the style of the whole page was something that it was like a discussion. So everyone has like their own point of view in those stuff, in that stuff. So yeah, probably that's the two things I will say were like the most challenging.
So if I am like a volunteer and I open a PR on the documentation, then I will have the preview of how the page will look with my changes.
Yeah, basically that's something we worked with Carlos and Cam to do. We use like this service called Netlify to do that, and yeah, currently we are now able to do that. Yeah.
And thanks to Danielle's help setting that up, as Carlos is actually, we were able to get that set up on for our website as well. So now people contribute blog posts or other content to our website, they can see a preview there as well.
That's really cool. Like, you don't have to just try to imagine, and for the reviewer to see, like, to try to deploy it like locally to see the changes. That's a really, really nice addition to also like all the back end of our documentation process. So yeah, thank you, Daniel. So Juanita, what was the most difficult part for you?
The whole thing. I don't know. I guess the most difficult part for me was not knowing what I was doing. I think I started this literally having zero experience on doing documentation. I had been working for Spyder for 1 year when Carlos asked me to do this. And I think it was some sort of like leap of faith from him to tell me, you're in charge of this, go do it. And I had to do a lot of research and ask a lot of questions to come up with something, out of nowhere, because I literally didn't have any idea of what I was doing. But I think I had the support of everyone around. Carlos helped me a lot, and it was really good to know that he was trusting me with this, because I think in a lot of the parts of the path that took us to here, I didn't actually know if I was the right person for doing this. I wrote a blog post a couple of months ago, kind of telling people that it's hard to kind of know why you're the right person for doing something. And I think I figured that I ended up being good at doing this because I focused it in what users needed. And I think that's what made the dogs like what they are now. And it's kind of thinking about the needs of the users and learning what to show and what resources to give them so that the documentation is actually useful. And the other thing, as Danielle was saying, is every like UI related thing, kind of the things that are related to how we display the documentation. That was also like difficult because I didn't have any idea of that. I had to learn CSS and HTML and all that to kind of try to implement some of my crazy ideas. But I am also thankful that I had help from Daniel, especially who taught me a lot, and I was able to do a lot of things on my own just because he taught me how to do it. But we also had the help of a UX expert whose name is Isabella, who has been helping us for the past months with a lot of like design issues on our page. And I think that was a blessing because it kind of showed us that we were going in the right direction with all the ideas that we were having for the interface. But I would say that the hardest part would be like not knowing what I was doing most of the time and kind of trying to figure it out along the way. But I had a really good team that helped me like along the way. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I know Juanita says that, I mean, I'm sure it seemed really kind of overwhelming at first, but I mean, even from the start, her work just was really not only, technically impressive, but also it really did seem to do the most important thing with docs, like she said in her blog, which is focusing on users and making it friendly for new users, and not just creating some words on the page, but building a whole community of people of all different skill levels. And I think from the start, that was one of the most important skills that she had coming into it. That was just an amazing contribution.
Yeah, I also find like that the approach that you all did to the documentation helps a lot to new users. Like especially with that video, like our most popular video is the one that's Pip versus Kondo. And I guess that I have referenced that video like more than 10 times like when answering issues in our page, in our GitHub page. So like it is really useful because like before we had to try to get like all those steps to users in one comment, and maybe it wasn't like the right approach to it. So with the video we're able, just to send them to the users, and the users will find it like kind of funny and kind of a different content that you normally will have in the open source community. So yeah, I think that was like such great idea to add videos to the documentation. It helps a lot.
Record, that was another crazy idea. I mean, I was like, yes, let's do a video on explaining people how to work with environments. And I was like, then I ended up kind of finding out that it was not as easy as I thought, but it ended up being useful. So also, I wanted to answer Tony's question. He was saying if open source sounds funny when you're first getting into it and unfamiliar with the weird words. And I would say it would, yeah, the answer would be yes. I definitely think that kind of coming into this new world without having idea of like anything, it is crazy. But just spoiler alert, I'm gonna do another video similar to the pip content one to show people how to contribute to open source. And I think that's a good thing, to have like resources to help people find themselves around the way. So yes, it does sound funny, Tony.
Okay, so right now we're going to pass to the tour that Juanita has prepared for us about like to see how the new documentation we've been talking around like for 40 minutes has come up and show it to all of you. So I will let you with Juanita.
Thanks, Stephanie. So I'm gonna share my screen if I can figure out how to do it. So, okay, these are our dogs, but these are our old dogs. So this is what the initial page used to look like. I didn't really like the fact that it was like all links to everywhere. I think that's what an initial page like has to have. But what I did, and you're gonna see it here, is I basically organized all those links into sections that were easy to find, and it's meant for pointing people towards where to go in our documentation. This was the panels thing that Daniel was talking about. He was in charge of doing that completely. I came up with an idea and I told him, please do that, and he completely did it. Thanks, Daniel, for doing that. I think it looks awesome. And we also added a bunch of like icons so that it was a little bit prettier, I guess. And also we pointed people to other resources that are not necessarily inside our documentation, but kind of help people to find themselves if docs is not what you're looking for. So this is our main page now. Let's go back to our old docs. So, well, the other thing that I think was impressive, and I think it was a really hard work from Cam and Danielle, it's our selectors. So this is what is allowing me to kind of show you both versions. I can go from Spyder 3 to Spyder 4 documentation. Just in case someone is still using the old version of Spyder, I thought it was kind of like a good idea to preserve the old documentation. So this quick start is our completely new section that is the tour that Cam was telling you about. So he was the one who did all the structure of the tour. I kind of got the idea from the tour that we already had in Spyder, because not sure if you have seen it, but there's already a tour inside the Spyder's interface that you can kind of go to. But I thought it would be fun to have it also in the documentation. So what this tour does is basically teach you, first, I thought of it as a glossary, in the sense that it kind of teaches you some words that we usually use for the documentation, such as toolbars. Sometimes, I mean, maybe some users do not know what exactly we're referring to when we're saying toolbar or status bar, or maybe the options menu or the context menu. So this is, it's kind of a glossary in the first place, but it's also kind of showing some of the main pains in our Spyder's interface. So take a look at our tour if you want to know a little bit of Spyder without actually having it. The other is our installation guide, which we improved. This was a resource that we already had. Cam did it in the first place, and what I did was exactly the same that I did with the troubleshooting, including some kind of visual aids, some GIFs maybe that would be useful for people to do their installation. Like, we have been aware that installation is one of the things that people struggle the most with. So we wanted our installation guide to be a really reliable source for people to get their Spyder working. And we're also talking here, I'm not sure we had this before, but we mentioned here how to try Spyder online, which I think is a really good resource now, being able to use Spyder without even having to download it.
We didn't have that before. That's brand new.
Yeah, so try Spyder. If you don't want to download it, try it in Binder. Our link is in our documentation. So this is my favorite section, and it was also the one that cost me the most to do. It's our videos section. So there's only 2 sections right now. The first steps with Spyder, which kind of takes you towards some of the main characteristics of Spyder, including downloading it and some basic things that you can learn for starting working, like customizing it. We have the transcript, available here. So if anyone, I don't know, wants to read it instead of listening to my voice talking, that's also a possibility. And spoiler alert, we're going to try to do translations for this so that we can have some like other language resources. This one is exactly the same. There's 3 videos, and they teach you how to work with more advanced paint, like the plus paint, the files paint, the outline. We made one video exclusively for the code analysis and one video exclusively for the profiler, because we think that those are 2 very useful paints that people should learn how to use. And we try to kind of show them an easy way of using them. And this was basically what we had before, which was our paint list, in which and every paint has its like a specific characteristics and details of buttons and actions that you can do with every possible paint. And what I've been doing with this, which is still not ready, we're missing some paints, but it'll be ready hopefully soon. So what we've been doing is adding some GIFs that help people, kind of learn things faster and better. I don't know. I guess GIFs talk a little bit more than just paragraphs and long tests. And this is our troubleshooting guide, which was all Cam's work. But what we did was basically organize it so that it would be a little bit prettier. I also added a section here to show people where to go specifically when they're troubleshooting. So there's 5 sections. The first one is basic first aid, which is basically some steps that you can use for solving problems fast. It has some recommended steps. And here we have our Don't Mix Beep Conda video, because we've noticed that it has been a really useful resource for people to troubleshoot when they're having problems with mixing packages. So we're gonna do a lot more videos like this to help troubleshoot. The other one is emergency CPR, which is basically common solutions that you can use when you're having problems with specific things. And this common illnesses also has more advanced problems, like when you have trouble with Spyder kernels. We put some screenshots of the error messages that you can find so that people can kind of identify them and know that that's what they are looking for there. The calling for help section, it's my favorite because it has all these cute logos. It has all the resources that you can go to for help or for solving issues. So the first one is our frequently asked questions section, the YouTube channel where you can find the tutorials, the Gitter room where the team is answering questions a lot of the time for people, the Google group, the Spyder website, and Stack Overflow where our lead maintainer Carlos is always kind of trying to help people with Spyder, and other Python resources or data science resources. And the last one is a really cute section of how to submit an issue. If you try all your troubleshooting steps and all our frequently asked questions and you couldn't kind of solve anything, the next step is kind of open an issue. And that's, we want to help users, but for us being able to help them, we need them to provide as much information as they can so that we can actually provide the help that they need. And thinking about that, we created this submit a report section to show people exactly what they need to include when they submit an issue in GitHub, and some screenshots of what they can find useful to copy and paste in our issue tracker. And of course, the link to our issue tracker and some tips for writing the code there. And our last section was their frequently asked questions. And as I said, it's it's kind of a mix of the questions that we found in different resources of Spyder that are common. And we basically try to make them really short so that kind of people find quick answers for quick questions. So we have different questions: installing and updating, running Spyder, using Spyder, troubleshooting. So this section hopefully help us to answer a lot of the questions that people ask a lot and most of the time. So now, not sure if Danielle, you want to kind of, I mean, I can keep my screen shared, but if you want to talk about a little bit of all the changes that you did in the theme, so that we could kind of have these working like it is. For instance, the columns, yeah.
Well, basically, we kind of changed like the style in terms of like colors and stuff. Also with this Sphinx panel extension, then you can use like this type of components like the cards and the drop downs you were showing for the fact section. We also added like support for this Gitter chat. So if you go to the open chat button, yeah, you can see that there is like our Gitter channel open for everyone, and there you can ask questions, and I think Cam will take care of algorithming them. And yeah, we also added this drop-down selector for the versions that Juanita was showing also. And if you have or you want to see our documentation in a small device, we also have some support for that. So basically, the layout of the page will kind of be responsive and will ensure that you can actually see the documentation even if you are using like a cell phone or a smartphone, for example. Yep, that's kind of like an overview, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Danielle.
Well, like this is really nice work, guys. So I have one like last question, and if I'm a user who wants to contribute to the docs, what should I do?
Contribute. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe Cam can help us with this.
Contribute.
Yeah, like for example, I want to help you, to add something. So where can I go, to show that I want to help? And how do I request your how can I open a PR to the documentation side? Because like we've already done videos about how to like contribute to the Spyder side when you want to put code in it, but we don't know how to do like the documentation one. So it is a different repo, or it is in the same repo as the Spyder one?
So the documentation, for the documentation, we've been handling basically two repos. One is for like the content, and the other one is for the theme, which is basically everything that Danielle has been working on. And in our docs, we have yeah, we have a contributing guide that people can follow if they want to contribute. But yes, it is a separate repo. But we welcome everyone to contribute. We have had contributions from other people that are not necessarily part of our team. So we welcome everyone, and we will try to provide as much help as possible to any user that wants to contribute. And Carlos, if you're there, you can send the link for the contributing guide in the chat of the live so that people have access to it.
Thank you, Juanita. So yeah, I guess that's all we wanted to share. So please remember to follow us on all our channels, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. And if you have any further question about how to contribute, we are here to help. So you can go to our contributing guide to see if you want to share like some of the ideas you have that maybe can help us to build more our documentation. And please remember that every contribution you make, it's important to us. And yeah, thank you all for all this amazing work, and we'll see you next time.
And I think Juanita
Thanks,
has something to say as an outro, as she says in all her videos.
No, before I'm going to do a spoiler alert. So Stephanie was telling us how people sometimes don't know how to contribute. I came with another crazy idea of showing people how to contribute. So the last Spydercast that we did, if you recall, was basically Stephanie showing us how to solve an issue on a repository. So I decided to do a video about that so that people can learn a little bit easy how to contribute to a repository with a simple issue. That was my spoiler alert. And now, I don't know what was the outro. Oh yeah, follow us in our YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos, and happy spidering.